Today, Pakistani establishment is unwilling to learn from their past mistakes. They are reinforcing their failures. So these policies are not only a greater threat to whole of the Central Asian region and the South Asian region, but a very great threat to Pakistan herself, her own stability with dangerous fallouts. As the cycle of operation followed by greater terrorism and then thereafter further operations, there is an expanding TTP which comes back with greater vengeance. So now the question is, what are those policies and why has Pakistan come to this situation of being a near failed state? Political theorists would keep splitting hairs as to what factors really constitute towards a failing state. A conventional wisdom would have it that a state which is unable to guard democracy and its political institutions, whose economy has failed, a state that lacks social development and is plagued by sectarian strife is heading towards a failed state status. Pakistan's experiment with democracy can be said to have failed in the first decade of its independence itself, when General Ayub Khan seized political power on October 7, 1958. Pakistan's short history as a country has been very turbulent, fighting amongst the provinces as well as a self-inflicted conflict with India that they have been reinventing with each passing dictator or a civilian leader backed by the military. The civilian leaders have competed with their army generals in proving themselves to be greater hawks when it came to India. The latest case in point being that of Imran Khan. Their fatal obsession with Kashmir has resulted in great turmoil and tension in this region. Pakistan has spent billions of US dollars to fund and fuel terrorism in Kashmir. This has resulted in a drained economy, bringing Pakistan to a verge of near economic collapse. This sole reason has prevented Pakistan from gaining real stability in the last 70 plus decades. It oscillates between the military rule and democratic elected governments.
I request you all to remain calm and support your armed forces in the re-establishment of order to pave the way for a prosperous future for Pakistan.
Between secular policies and Islamization to financial backing as a frontline state like in the Cold War to military cooperation as in the war against terrorism by General Musharraf. It was during General Ziaul Haq's era that radicalization of Pakistani society began. It was aimed to create an unending flow of jihadis to fight the Soviets in Afghanistan and also infiltrate them into India to disturb the peace in this region. The Zia's policy of using terrorism as its foreign policy tool in the region still continues to be in place. This has led to spawning of state-aided madrasas, contributing to religious radicalization in Pakistan society even beyond what Zia would have ever imagined. Alongside the radicalization, political uncertainty adds to instability, creating vacuum which is now being filled by the TTP and other separatist groups at a very faster pace. Recently, the general elections that were held were allegedly rigged to get a favorable government by the military. This underscores the continuing trend of economic and political instability in Pakistan. Pakistan's Defence Minister Asif Khwaja, in his recent interview to a Western media house, had said that Operation Azm-e-Istehkam could be taken inside Afghanistan too, if the need arose.
It is emanating out of the Afghan soil, should be taken care of by our brothers in Afghanistan. And if that is not done, at some point we'll have to, resort to some measures which will definitely, wherever they are, their sanctuaries on Afghan soil, we'll have to hit them. We'll have to hit them.
This threat by Pakistani Defence Minister of launching operations inside Afghanistan has brought a sharp reaction from Afghanistan's interim defence ministry. It has said that anyone who violates our sovereignty under any pretext or title will be responsible for the consequences. Pakistan's defence minister's statement about the possibility of violating Afghanistan's national sovereignty are an ill-considered act and an attempt to muddy the waters, which is not in anyone's interest. The leadership of Pakistan must not allow anyone to make such sensitive statements on sensitive issues. An analysis of the past with no changes to the unholy governing structure of Pakistan Army generals and Islamic fundamentalists, Pakistan presents not only a serious danger to regional security as such, but also a greater human crisis within its borders. It is unlikely that this Operation Azm-e-Istehkam will get Pakistan any stability. On the contrary, it will add to greater instability. This is what the history has suggested. In fact, Pakistan Army should learn how India has been conducting people-friendly operations, winning hearts and minds of the people.
Pakistan has a history of using kinetic power, extreme kinetic power, to get rid of terrorists, neutralize terrorists. This is what they've done in the past in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa area. This is what they're going to do again. Compare this to the manner in which India has done it in Jammu and Kashmir. We have never used the Indian Air Force. We have used the helicopters only to lift troops to certain areas in the mountains. That's about all. Never have we fired a helicopter gunship. Ours has been a typical benign kind of an approach to use limited kinetic power, but balanced tremendously by soft power. Our balance between kinetic and operations and soft power has been very intense, very, very focused. That's the strength of the Indian system.
And before we conclude, here is my take. Pakistan has a history of engaging in others' wars in exchange for billions of US dollars in aid. The recent announcement of Operation Azm-e-Istehkam suggests little change in outcomes that from the past. Already teetering on the brink of economic collapse, Pakistan risks further alienating its tribal population. Exacerbated by its pro-Chinese policies that have already soured relations with local tribals, this operation is likely to compound rather than mitigate these issues. Instead, Pakistan could benefit from studying India's approach to insurgency, emphasizing on people-friendly tactics. Regionally, the neighboring countries must remain vigilant to proactively manage any potential fallout within their borders. And with this, we come to the end of this episode. I take this opportunity to thank you all for overwhelming support to our previous episode on India's light combat helicopter Prachand. See you next week with new story, and thanks for watching. But before that, don't forget to post your comments on social media with hashtag DD with Danveer. Goodbye and take care.